I couldn't. I couldn't drop speed at all. There was no. See, also the fact is that there is a different adrenaline talk, right? When you play the survival game, you either play it out of fear or play it out of excitement. I always play it out of excitement. Uh,
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Second Innings podcast series. Suman Ghosh with me, and I are hosts for this podcast. Purpose, passion, joy are becoming more and more important to all of us in our life and our work journeys. In this podcast, what we do is we explore through conversations with people who have done such transitions. We help them uncover their stories, experiences, and learnings. The most important thing is that telling and listening to such stories helps all of us, the audience, the viewers, as well as all of us as participants. Our guest today is Anil Nair. Anil Sadasivan Nair is the co founder of Goodwind Moto Tours, a premium motorcycle touring company from India. GMT is the pioneer in premium motorcycle tours, taking Indian riders to exotic routes across Europe, Africa, and all over Asia as well. He also serves simultaneously as the co founder and executive director of HyperReady Technologies, which is an AI technology firm. Apart from these two, he also holds board positions in various companies, which include Kalyan Jewelers and Candere. He's had over 27 years of experience in advertising. That would be a lifetime in itself. So we really want to hear more about that, Anil, about how you went about building your career there and the various transitions you did within that career before you did the big transition to Goodwill. His last role in advertising was as CEO and managing partner at LNK Saatchi and Saatchi, which is a leading global advertising agency, and that's where he retired from in 2020. He was also a member of the global leadership board for Saatchi and Saatchi worldwide. In addition to his professional achievements, Anil has authored a book which is called License to Fall, which shares insights from motorcycling about living life on one's own terms. Definitely going to be a great read. The book is available on Amazon and in several other bookstores, and I believe it's in on Kindle as well, so very easily downloadable and so on. Welcome, Anil, to the podcast. We're really happy to have you here.
Thank you, Atul and Suman. Really excited to talk to both of you.
Yeah, it'll be great to hear all your stories. We spoke the other day about a little bit about your backstories. Honestly, we just kept on talking for almost the entire length of an episode the other day.
Correct.
And we were
Yes.
joking that we really should have just recorded it then rather than doing the formal recording now. But it's going to be a fascinating conversation if we can, go over even 50% of those stories. What we're going to do is we'll start with requesting you to tell us a little about your backstory, your early days, your origin story of how you grew up, a little bit about your siblings, your family, your friends, school, college, and all of that, which is really, the kind of thing that shapes you early in your life. So we'd love to hear a little bit about that, please.
Okay, as the surname suggests, I'm a Malayali, born in the capital city of Kerala, Trivandrum, then, which is now Thiruvananthapuram, tongue twister for a whole lot of people. Studied most of it in Trivandrum, finished my graduation in Trivandrum before I came to Bombay for my post graduation. But yeah, back home, I have my father who's in was a newspaper man all his life. And my mom is a professor in, she retired as a professor of history. Got a sibling, a younger one. She is in the United States. She is the director of technologies and security for Vanguard Corporation. That makes her jokingly I call it the deep state. Yeah, that's my family. I came to Bombay in 1993. And if you know the significance of 1993 is when Bombay had all the bomb blasts. So I came right behind the bomb blast. Right. It was really funny because it just after I have decided that I'm coming to Bombay to pursue my post graduation in marketing and advertising from Xavier Institute of Communication, and all bags are packed, and boom, 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 there goes the blast. So it almost like a watershed moment to say that, okay, should I rethink this? I got a good break very early in my professional journey. I started working for a fairly large agency called Putra. That's how I kind of started my career in Bombay. Just rewinding back a bit, back home in Kerala, my ambition originally was to play a strange sport for most of Malayalis then called cricket. Okay, I was hooked on to it's a state known for football, athletics, volleyball, bit of basketball. Cricket was like, man, what is this? So I was very serious about playing that game, and I was pretty good at it. Yeah, I was an opening bowler for my college and university, and I had a great ambition to play that sport. So I was like, I wanted to play this, and I wanted to play it like at that level. I wanted to come on TV. that level. So the motivation was very much there. Till a particular time, I had a shoulder injury. That kind of, it also at a stage where you're playing the game at a very serious level. There was under South Zone trials happened. I kind of tore my shoulder. That was bad enough. You also, even the medical science is not so advanced that people don't understand it's a tear. People think, oh, the shoulder, the typical doctor, kind of stuff. Put it in a sling, hold it for some time, and it's fully heals. So that was the end of that particular career. So that was the journey. So all that doors closed. So I had to find uh, a way out of all of it. And suddenly, career. Okay, I have to now choose a profession. So much easier because my dad was a newspaper man. I've realized that though he was not a journalist, he was in the business of newspaper. So one of the things he dealt a lot with is the advertising or because ad agencies who were placing the ads in the newspapers. He used to get calls from. So
So
I could
before you
hear.
move on from cricket, sorry to interrupt. I mean, tell us, since you're so passionate and suddenly this one event kind of, messed up the entire plan. How did it feel at that time? Must have taken a lot of resilience.
See, when you're 17, 18, you're not thinking about career. You're thinking about that superpower, right? It's about that your brute power is gone from you. Taken. So that was the bigger shock. Then about this whole thing of non-cricket. Anyway, I knew that there was going to be a big resistance from my mom when it comes to choosing sport as a because she's a academic person. She's being a professor. She knew everything. See, my problem was in college is like, though my mom never taught me in my college or she was not in my college, every professor knew that I'm, Radha Devi's son. So I had no escape from half the things that people had. And then, therefore, people took a special attention on me. So I realized that was a big battle to say that, listen, I'm going to use sport as a vehicle to get a professional. Anyway, so the cricket journey, that once ended. So I had this exposure to the name of agencies because calls used to come when my dad had gone. And he's always annoyed with an agency guy calling him from Chennai or Bangalore or Bombay, trying to say, please give spin. The Panorama was a very powerful newspaper and getting the front page and all of that. And last minute, and he used to tell them to FO and all of that because that's how it was. Like it's how Tongues to India behaves, when I came to Bomb. So pretty much like my dad was that guy, the last guy for the call and beg. So my dad, I just one day asked me, so what do you want to do after your graduation? I said, I will study advertising. So then we realized there is nothing called advertising courses in India generally. I realized that marketing is a stepping stone to advertising, and that's how that brought me to Bombay to study marketing, and with a kind of focus on advertising. And that's how my journey into advertising happened. And yeah, the one thing that I imbibed from my father was a avid motorcyclist, and can you believe that as a head of an office and a general manager of a company, what he actually asked the company to get him was a motorcycle and not a car. So car was his private car, and the company vehicle was a motorcycle. So he had a
That's
Yamaha.
interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Because see, the fact that that is the motorcycle that the company gave to all the reporters and the photographers.
If I may ask you, Anil, what year was that? And how old were you at that point? Because that would have had an impact on you at a very early age, and it kind of connects with your
Yeah. So
passion for motorcycles
this
now.
particular thing of my dad, right, getting the office vehicle, which is actually given to staff reporters and photographers, right?
Right,
I mean, they
right.
were they were saying that, sir, but that's for reporters and photographers. No, no, he liked Yamaha RX 100. Okay, he said, give me that one. Okay, but he was
Super.
a motorcyclist. I mean, right from my childhood, I've seen him on two wheelers.
Okay.
So he used to work with me, and my mom was in another city because that's where she was teaching when I was really small. And I remember weekend my dad coming on a LT or a Enfield or whichever bike that you had. So that's the good sound is dad coming home. Okay, riding some 200 kilometers
Amazing.
wherever. And then, he was like a safety first guy, and that I kind of, like, we always wore a helmet uh, especially long distance. The whole helmet was a play thing for me. I was very fascinated by that little leather outside kind of thing, and also it
Mm.
had a smell, which is actually it's not a pleasant one, but I liked it. And then once I saw him. Leather gloves, removing leather gloves. So every time he rides a little long distance, he wears a leather glove. So those are childhood memories, and then
Interesting.
he always had we had a car. We bought a car. Given a choice, he'll take only the bike. Okay, he will say parking. If you're talking about 1985 and 86, there's no parking. Can you believe it? He used to say in a city like Trivandrum, he'll say, no, you're not buying parking. Parking is very difficult. And he'll make my mom sit. My mom is like, okay, finally, she's given up on this fact that, I can't get this man to take me in a car. If I have to go somewhere, if he has to take me shopping somewhere, I have to sit behind the bike. So that has been all. In fact, finally, my dad, my sister literally hit the key of the bike to stop him from that because he was not listening to anybody. Because why he's taking the bike, he's getting old and all of that. So that's how it was. So I got this passion for biking. So he actually bought me a second-hand bike when I was 18. Um, so I didn't really have to fight for it. So he understood that and he gave me. The only problem was extremely key when it comes to giving me pocket money. Because he used to give me pocket money, which barely was equal to 1 liter of petrol. So I had to choose whether I put 1 liter fully into a bike or, go for a movie or all of it. So, actually, I used to give me 20 rupees a week. So that time, fuel was 10 rupees, so 9 point something. So 1 liter
Right.
and 2 liters or 1 liter and then one movie or something else. That's all you could afford with that kind of. So that's how I started out. So I
Petrol
have,
comes later. You should be happy that you got a bike at 18. That must be the
Yeah,
dream of a lot of
absolutely.
youngsters,
yeah.
right? It must
So
be
I would
Absolutely.
like
amazing.
so
Yeah,
thankfully we
Especially
have
because he didn't have to fight for it.
so very clearly taught
exactly.
me. He never allowed me to even start this. Okay. I can push it and park it on the other side and all of that. Chavi can't be put in, and I never started the engine. I did without him knowing, but I could never officially start that his bike again. He used to give me this thing about it's an office vehicle and you can't touch it. But the fact that he didn't like it, he didn't like anyone sitting on it, anyone else. He used to get, those food when he sees someone sitting on it. He parks somewhere and goes back. And actually, wherever in the city, people come and plant their ass there, right? So, but the fact is that he used to get extremely annoyed, very possessive. So it is embarrassing sometimes, as if we make it sound like somebody's ripped something out of his heart or something. So that's how we were. So I got got a whole lot of it from him. People Atul came to Bombay, one of my biggest incentive to come to Bombay, or rather, the thing that I was looking forward, or probably the thing that made me brave the bomb blast, was I wanted to come and buy RC on. Yes, I've heard because I used to really consume every motorcycle magazine, which only in the second-hand store I can buy. I can't afford the first hand.
Yeah, yeah,
When it
absolutely.
comes to Radhi level, you can buy. So that will be clearly 6 or 8 months old. And not like in city like Toronto, you get all the latest magazines and all. But don't forget some, will come. So I used to go by this one Vidyavala. Figured out few of us, some people used to go pick up music magazines.
I
Some
used to do the same thing with football magazines way back in the 80s. You never got anything. Sports Star was the only thing, but real football magazines you could only get at the Raddi place, and you had to go digging down and you had to sit there before somebody else got it.
I think just to add, for a lot of our young viewers may not even understand this. What do you mean by a Parsi owned thing? So this whole thing of anything being Parsi owned was supposed to be in immaculate condition because these guys were obsessed with keeping things at a very good shape.
So it's a very, very interesting thing. And see, for me, I have never met a Parsi in my life. Back in Kerala, we have no context of Parsis. Through history, because my mom is a professor, and also some part of Indian history, Nadabai Nauroji, all of that, and Homi Baba, all of that, we know they have belonged to the Parsi community. But the Zoroastrian community, they've largely in the textbooks, they are Zoroastrian community and all of that. So that is the connection that I have. But it's through the magazines, because many of those magazine editors are Pistuji, Pilunji, and all of those guys are the biking, especially the Vikings and all of that. Many of them are this Bawajis. So I've noticed all of this, and then in their letters to editors column, all of that, and we have seen some of them going hammer and tongs at the editor for quoting one engine specification wrong about some bike. Almost like what kind of journalists you have there, kind of. It was funny to read that. Somebody sat
That's
and wrote.
hilarious.
Now I can picturize that. Then back home, an 19-year-old, 18-year-old never met a Parsi. I don't even know what the quirk these guys had, and especially really touchy letters used to come. But within that, I started picking up this well maintained by Parsi, this that, because they used to be a classified. Okay, a classified column with the back of it, buying, selling, all of that. That way I realized. But then by the time I came to Bombay, I've seen this shiny metal, beautiful, vintage cars coming out. See, because I came to Bombay, I was in Kolkata. So the heart of Parsi land, I was there. And
Right.
every Sunday I could see this gleaming vintage cars coming out, great bikes coming out, parked in some places, and the quotes of us and all of that. So I'm like, man, this is like dreamland. So I had to buy this. I couldn't tell back home that this is my big motivation. And so I had to hold on. For 6 months, I held on. Started saving a little bit money from a few things. So I was like, acha bacha. I still remember after 6 months, I went to Kushrobad in Kolaba with the help of an agent to buy a second-hand SD road. Okay. Trust me, guys, that has been one of the toughest things I have to accomplish in my life. Because the first time the owner met me, he came out, it's typical that Parsi Ganji Baniyan cap and all. Sunday only you can go meet him because he's not free otherwise. You have to go Sunday. He came, looked at me, asked me a few questions. Okay. I said, can I see the bike? No, no, I'll tell you. No. So he just interviewed me for 10 minutes and
So he
said,
was checking whether you are worthy enough or not.
right? That's one. The second day, second Sunday, so he told the agent, just go office. Like, he told me, Chavi diya, start the book. Okay, sit on it. You are not done. Don't put the gear. Okay, on the still off, put the stamp, get out. Okay, you have to see how I'm treating the bike. Do I know how to properly, start the bike? Then,
Unbelievable.
and all of that. Then I said, sir,
So proper examination even
proper
before he
examination.
decides to sell you.
I didn't have to ask my father-in-law about for my wife so many times. Okay. I asked once and he agreed. But this one, the two times, but still I don't know I'm getting it up. Right? But when about to leave, he said 6,750. Okay. Tomorrow license take care. Bring license. Copy of the license, photocopy of license, 6,750. So I said, so typically standard thing, what do you do when somebody quoted a price? I said, sir 6,000. Sir, I'm just come to city. Deal
Right.
cancel, go. Deal cancel, go. He said, deal cancel, go. I said, no, okay, I'll give you. No, I'm not giving it, you go. Then again, I told the agent, yeah, it's the event and spoke to him and all of that. And finally, 6,750 I paid. And I thought it is that has been the toughest acquisition. I bought cars easier. I bought a work later in life, and it all came like this. But this SD Road King for 6,750. I still remember them. Come on. It's a little higher for a second-hand bike, and that bike was more than 10 years. Beautiful piece of machine. Never like I could, and I crashed that bike, a near fatal crash.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was like,
So, in your early years of advertising, how did you kind of balance this passion? We find with a lot of people we talk to that while people do have strong passion, driven, call it a hobby or call it an activity, whatever, but very often people lose touch with that because of the pressures of your career, your jobs, time being a constraint, and so on. So, how was that for you in the early years from when you got this bike to and advertising was a very time taxing career at that time. It used to be late nights and all of that. So how did that kind of balance work for you in your early years?
it was all of that. The fact that this is a commute for me. It was a commute. So I was staying in YMCA Kolkata, and my office was in Metro, which is actually not too far. It's a
Right.
short ride. So yeah, it was funny that there was no covered parking and all. So there was this Metro, which is a very big junction in Bombay, where today very close to the Xavier's College and everything. There's a big
Mm.
roundabout in the middle, and the parking was there. So there were days that I come in and park my bike at 9:15 or 9:30. That would be already full filled with two-wheelers, cycles, all of that inside. And the days when they come out, the only vehicle standing there at 12 in the night or 11:30 in the night used to be my bike, because that was my life. At starting it because our
Yeah, yeah,
days used to be
naturally,
like
yeah.
that, brutal, 14 hours and all of that, including week. But I enjoyed that, my thing, my love for that vehicle. And once you come down and get onto the bike, and the little ride back to the YMCA hostel was like, it's all worth it, right? And for me, coming from a much smaller town, big city, Bombay, and South Bombay especially was like a gigantic shift. So the weekend I used to map every corner of Bombay. I knew more lanes and bylanes of Bombay than most of the people who are born and brought up in Bombay, because that's what I used to be. And exactly that the crash that I was talking about happened exactly in the friends of. So it was like a Friday evening. All my friends, not from the office, from the hostel, and some other friends, and all they all meet at a regular pub far away. And those days there's no mobile phone, and they typically used to call the board line. 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, almost like a last order kind of stuff. One call came. They're like, and they kind of our friends are like, Ma Betty Gali. So I had to like rush to this thing before the last order were over. And, I was riding. Of course, I stupid mistake. I never wore a helmet. I had a helmet. It was lying on my desk because of the hurry. I just came down, slung my bag around, and just started. I went, and right in front of there is this very fun, now closed, famous music store called Rhythm House. One car came out. They were not from Bombay, so they didn't know there was a one way. They actually came through, and I assumed that they knew what it is, and they will turn away. So that turned into ASD at 80 kilometers per hour. Is a rocket projectile going up without any brake. So you stand on the brake, also it won't stop. So that's exactly happened. Head on, close to 18 stitches on the head, almost skull crack, muscle gone, all of that. So I was like out of action for a long time on a crutch, hospital for a long time. Then came out on a crutch. The moment
And
the
how
crutch,
old were you at this time, Anil?
20, 23.
So I have a question, Anil. It's fascinating to hear your story, your love affair with bikes, and it goes back such a long way. Also, you started this thing called Goodwind, which Atul mentioned, but that is after 27 years of working. So I'm just curious to know. I mean, that's a very long time to kind of hold on to a passion and then eventually do something about it. So how was that like? Were you always sure, clear that this is what I'm going to do one day? Uh,
So
and
let me
then how
complete the
did you
math.
move to? Yeah,
Yeah, I tell you, let me complete the madness because I came out of I lost my crutches. I started walking, and
yeah.
my dad agreed that I can buy another bike. He loaned me the money. I bought another bike. He helped me buy another bike
Wow.
because that was a very important decision in my life because everyone felt that was the last that they will see me on a bike. It was madness, right? No, you should give up that thing. This has almost killed you. Thank God you're back and everything was fine.
Yeah, that would be the normal logic almost.
So the only thing I did,
Yeah.
I
I
bought
mean,
a
what
safe.
I'm tempted to say, you have a cool dad, but your mom is even cooler, and that she was okay with all of this.
So the truth be told, that first accident, the intensity of it, she didn't know. In fact, nobody knew till the time my brother-in-law landed up in my cousin's husband landed up in Bombay and figured that shit, this guy is in bad shape. Then he kind of intervened and put me to better medical care and all of that. So that the only thing I did is I bought a safer bike. The only justification was Ace Bar makes safe bike label in the sense like Kawasaki RTZ, which is not like as heavy as this one, has better brakes, all of the justification I got it. So I had that. I kept it till the time I got married, nicely, politely said, I think it's time for you to buy a car. So like all good boys, I bought a car. And the bike eventually went away. The
So, which year was this?
9 is when I stopped. I sold. So 2000 onwards, I mean, we always had a car after that.
So, your
So
father-in-law was finally able to tame you.
no, it was also the functionality of the fact that we were staying in Juhu at that point of time, and my office was in Bareilly. It's too much of a two-wheeler journey. You get to office in a wreck and on two-wheeler, and Bombay rains and all of that. So it wasn't
Yeah,
practical. Car
yeah.
was always safer. Bombay is a city which rains like 4 months, and two-wheelers means you get to office like a absolute French chicken. So practicality also came in. Also, in fact, it's a life method us. Growth is happening, status upgrade, everything. So four wheelers and then the models thereof kind of signal to everyone saying Chacha kar raha hai." So it happened. But the fact is that any time a bike passes me, not like a regular bike, a particular tuned bike, I might have used to. I used to. And at that point of time, Star Sports used to have MotoGP. They used to show MotoGP. Nobody watched it, but Saturday afternoon and Sunday afternoon, it used to be 4:30 to 5:15 or something like that. 45 minutes of the race of Mick Doohan, Kevin Songs, Rainey, and all of that time. Even before Valentino Rossi time. I used to diligently sit. My friends used to go for movies and all. Sunday afternoon, I will sit in front of TV just to watch that race. So that became part of my ritual. So that's how I kept in touch with motorcycling. So advertising took over because what happened is like I started liking advertising because probably it has the same level of adrenaline pumping moments. It is there. It's exciting. It has got a lot of danger. It's got a lot of stuff. So it kind of filled up the void for time being. But I've always, when I look at a bike, I can have a conversation. But then these magazines and all of that started, you can access it. So I kept on once in a while going and picking up international magazines. And then I've traveled abroad, one of the things that I used to, when I started doing is to, when I used to go to London, I used to go to a place called Ace Cafe. Ace Cafe it's actually a biker garage turned into a cafe. So a biker meetup place. It's also done up like a thing. My favorite watering hole back in Bandra was Toto's Garage. Okay, which had all the things back. So it's like a little motorheads this, and I've had like most of the mechanics in Bandra and all of that. They don't know knew me because it's and luckily one of my roommates just before marriage in Bandra was had a you know one of the best sports bike you can ever think of, Kawasaki Ninja 1000. So he owned it. So I've always hovered around that, but life took over, advertising took over, career started doing okay, and so focus became that.
Yeah, yeah, naturally. So, I mean, and where in the journey did you think that this would be at some time in the future something that you would do with all your time, so to speak? I mean, was it a one time that it happened, or it happened gradually?
So I was like actually uh, Praveen and me started, when Praveen invited me to join his plan of creating an agency, LNK. I mean, Praveen and me worked together. One of the things that he knew that I had like this thing for cars. So he used to take my opinion or, generally ask. But in advertising, when we started our agency, one of the defining moments for us was when we won Skoda account. Okay. That was a very unlikely agency that won it. Okay, because we didn't have that big pedigree name and all of that point of time. And it was like so my general love for anything with machine and automobiles and all of that. Therefore, I took charge of that account, and it was amazing that Skoda didn't have a proper marketing team. So they literally bought everything that I could recommend for them. Skoda took off in India, where to the surprise of the Czech parent, the MD, Madam Balista, people used to come to India and listen to us with such, admiration. See, how did you position us as premium? We are the workhorse back in Europe. In India, it is a pride of ownership. The name like premium association, from the brand track and all they certain. So they for that we were gods. So these boys know everything. Okay, and and then Volkswagen came to India. And when Volkswagen came to India, a very structured marketing team and everything came and we clashed.
Right.
Obviously, I was having a field day and I wouldn't take anybody else's opinion about this. And then I had a head-on clash. And Volkswagen ego and my ego, obviously Volkswagen ego operates at this level. They decided that no, we're going to call for a pitch. I said, I'm not going to pitch for a brand that I made. I don't have anything else to do. You call whoever you want and see whether what they come up with. But we knew that its dice was loaded. And it was a very painful moment of my life, this in Skoda. And it was a significant source of revenue for the agency also. And we suddenly lost I think the second largest business, or third largest business at that point of time.
So, Anil, this was with, you said, with your own agency, right? So, give us a sense of how long had you worked in Mudra and other advertising firms before you started out on your own?
So 1994 is when I after my uh, master's post graduation in advertising and marketing from XIC, I joined Mudra. So from Mudra in '96, I moved to Mechanics. That was Mechan was just entering India, and they were setting up. My good friend and the then boss Praveen Kenneth moved to Mechan to head Coca-Cola. He knew that I want a big challenge. Otherwise, I won't. I'm not the guy who like take the run of the mill stuff. So he gave me Fanta to turn around Fanta in India, and also the Sprite launch, to launch Sprite in India. That that like a long thing. So from there, I kind of grew in McCann. I grew to almost the head of Bombay account management. But in between, Coke and McCann split, but they didn't take Sprite or Fanta out. So that was a big. Everyone started looking at. So what happened? Why did they sack McCann of this thing? And how did they retain these two? So internally also, everyone had a spotlight on my little group saying that, okay, so from there, all the big businesses were, so I suddenly came on the spotlight, probably one of the defining moments in my life. So, but still, I was a little unhappy because I'm a guy who likes freedom, and I can't work in a very, what it is, closeted environment. I feel a little, sad. So there was, when in global accounts, it's very fancy and it sounds good, but the control is not really with you. Decisions are taken elsewhere, big decisions. You just
Absolutely.
implement it or localize it here. I was personally not very happy. But then Lentas reached out to me because,
And where do you think this independent streak comes from, Anil? Because a lot of people, and we were talking to another one of our guests of a month or two back, and he also said something similar that I just couldn't handle having a boss, and so I decided to do something on my own. Now I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you said that. I'm simply saying that where does this independence or this desire to drive your own path kind of come from?
But I think the worst thing is not the independence. For me, one of the tough things is to lie to myself. So when you brag about your work, when you actually sit among your peers, you say, okay, I'm handling this, all of that. Everyone, and advertising, quite a lot of bragging used to happen. But I knew deep within, I was doing jack shit change, or I was not impacting in a very big way. I'm just
Sure.
implementing. But these are big brags. But everyone looked at me and said, "Boss, ye to sala, is there any international account that he doesn't have? Would like to handle this brand or that all this, that L'Oreal, blah, 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 Bacardi. The works, the most, but the fact is that I knew that I'm not been able to take any major, decisions on anything, right? I'm like, okay, very good. Flying to London, flying to this place, Singapore the other day, Hong Kong the other day. There is a Gora sitting somewhere. Their Goras had a meeting and they have decided what has to happen in India. And many a times it's rubbish.
No, it's a very interesting point you're making, and I think a lot of this happens in the corporate world. And when you're young, it's fine. As you grow older, you have your point of view, especially when you're successful, you're doing your stuff, and then at some point you have to ask yourself, am I going to put up with this thing, or like you said, the Goras, calling all the shots, and that's where authenticity becomes very important, right? And that's when you kind
Yeah.
of branch out.
I can't, I'm not coming from a virtuous background, but I felt hollow. I mean, kokla, the Hindi word kokla inside, right?
And
About what
this
I've done.
feeling of hollow you felt after how many years after you started work?
So after 10 years of working, so it's not that it's like that was not a deal breaker for me, but there was an unhappiness to say that, I mean, honestly, I'm not doing this. I'm not controlling. And actually, within the organization, I saw smaller people working on smaller brands, Indian companies, having far more fulfilling feeling that because they're controlling the whole process. It's not a, mega brand that, people used to look down upon, hey, you're handling this. And my group, my boys used to like always, you know, what our brand spends on 1 week is what your annual budget is. That's a kind of conversation. So it's like the media muscle. So that's sort of the appropriate time. And also my Praveen moved out from the agency. But at the same time, when Praveen moved out, they said, okay, listen, take his place. We will groom you into, one of the youngest general managers of, all of that. It'll take 2, 3 years, but you'll get there and all of that. Or probably give you an international posting. But at that point, the Lintas group, met me and gave me a very, very interesting opportunity. Madness, according to many people, an obscure, unheard of agency which Lintas just bought from Kirloskar Group was rebranded as Quadrant, and they said, "Can you come and head this enterprise uh, uh, in Bombay?" And so for me, and they said, and then in the initial conversations, I could sense that I'm going to get a lot of freedom because their expectation was almost like just professionalize this place. Okay, what's the brief? Just make it like a modern agency. Just professionalize this place. And Litas is such a large company, and I knew Prem Mehta, the then chairman of Litas, would not even have 1 hour a month for. Okay, but there was a 1 hour review meeting that we used to have with him, all of that. But I got tremendous freedom. I had a ball. We went to town. We won awards. We just went after fame. We created iconic
Right.
work. We got suddenly we put the agency on the map. So that was the strategy that I told them that we will go after famous work because anyway we'll never be able to compete anywhere in terms of size. And the timing really worked. At that point of time, Praveen called up and said, "Listen, I'm going to start on my own." And I was thinking that it would be great if we can come together again. I have had a great working relationship with him, and for him, I was the first person he can think when it comes to business and account management, and somebody else was supposed to join for creative as a creative leader. We started the agency in 2002.
Sorry, what was this agency called?
It was called. We started off as a franchisee operation for a British agency called St. Luke's. But within 2 years' time, we renamed it as Law and Kenneth. The Law comes from St. Luke's founder Andy Law surname. So we wanted an interact. The whole dream was to create an international agency, international sounding. Somewhere Nair didn't sound international, so I didn't get a thing. So jokingly, Praveen used to say that ampersand between L and K is Anil. So.
I'm trying to kind of really pinpoint this is to see where we can consider it to be like a second innings where you move away from a paycheck, or was this LNK also based on a paycheck from day one?
Absolutely.
And
So I
how
tell
did
you,
that happen?
so LNK was an entrepreneurial thing. I had an office company car, some secretary, cabin, corporate credit card, everything at Low. Okay. I was a senior vice president at Low. All the perquisites, and next time I have no salary, nothing. We are in a 20 by 20 room. Atul might remember the place in Neelam Center where
Yes, I
we
do.
all started. One little room.
Okay, so that is the transition, which is the big
So
one, right?
that is
That
the
is the first time you
again.
got out.
So
And this
Praveen
was
was
after how
studying.
many years of working all this mechanical test? How many years was it
So
total?
and we start. So okay, let me tell you. This entire journey, McCann, low, all of that is like an 8 year journey.
8 years?
8 years. Okay. So
Okay.
after 8 years, and Praveen's 10 years in his life journey. So with 10-year experience and 8-year experience, we started an agency. We didn't realize that it was like it's a little too big for our boots, but we decided to do it at that point. Two upstarts, right? Not enough experience, certainly not enough, connections and credibilities in Bombay. So there is no, we pick up the phone and call someone and they will give us the account. We literally had to fight our way from that. So there are very limited funding that we took from someone as a loan, which would have lasted us 4 months maximum if, we didn't get any income. So we had to find an income the first month itself, so started doing it. But the whole thing of keeping the home fire burning, and one thing Praveen really allowed me to do is that, so I was good with people, and people would join me because of what my reputation in the past, and people who work with me.
Right,
So
of
really
course.
good guys will join. So I could go and hire some really fire in the belly young guys. So we kind of grew very fast. And the watershed thing within the first 6 months of our existence on one of the biggest pitches in India, we won. NDTV was launched. Pranay Roy was launching NDTV television. So we won NDTV. We created NDTV 24/7. And that's when everyone looked up and said, okay, how did these upstarts win NDTV? Pranay Roy, one of the biggest pitches that happened at that point in time for a channel. So that gave us an impetus. On the back of it, we landed up winning mega
But
business.
sorry to interrupt, but this is after starting. I want to understand that transition point because most people talk about that. See, here you are sitting there, winning a lot of prizes, going abroad, having a good life, right? The point is everything is going good, and then suddenly you branch out and you do something and you jump into something which is totally new without knowing. Or so was it like you were sure that this is going to be very successful? And if not, how was that? How did it feel to what motivated you to jump out of something which is so comfortable and doing something which is totally new?
Maybe it is my motorcycling, what do you call it, habits and tendency to take that risk. But most importantly,
So you are
the
in
decision.
general a more of a risk taker, is what you're saying.
Yes, I realized that I take a lot of risk.
Okay.
I crashed too. But the
Okay.
most important thing was at that point of time, my choice was to, while I was contemplating joining Praveen in starting an agency which nobody has heard of. I also had offers from. I was clear I wanted to leave corporate because I didn't want to continue playing that new. I didn't want to be another big agency, small arm. I wanted to create a famous agency, which I did at that point of time. And again, that skilla happened when I saw here again. If I work for someone, if that freedom of dictating what kind of work I need to do, if it gets compromised, my best won't come out, and I'll become a miserable person. I've seen it twice. Okay, at McCann I saw it where they were very good to me, but at the same time, kind of mandates that we had. So
Interesting what you're saying. Maybe I should just emphasize it. So what I'm hearing you say is that even though you had tasted success at a very early age, and it was all of 8 years that you did all this phenomenal stuff. By that time, you realized that maybe I need to do something different and not be in the corporate world because of the reasons you just cited, right? That eventually you don't have that kind of freedom. And sometimes when you do have that freedom, like that when you were getting awards and then Lintas came in and started putting in all this big company stuff. So that's a pretty uh, early realization, I would say, in terms of
yeah, I wouldn't
wanting to
say
get
that.
out.
I would have at that point of time I would have called that out as the single most learning. But when a post facto analysis is when I actually realized that. But at
Yeah.
that point of time, it's the thrill of starting another one. It's thrill of the excitement of escaping from a dead end that I'm moving towards with this one. Suddenly saying, okay, all over again. Okay, I'm working with someone who I'm very familiar with, who gave me a lot of freedom, and starting from the angst. Let me tell you, all credit to Praveen. The first 6 months of the anxiety of survival, he took and told me, "You just go hire good people, and let's pitch for some good accounts." I was good at I was strategic friend of mine. Started getting better in 8 years of experience, big brand experiences, global exposure, all of that. So that also helped in terms of getting some really big ticket clients. We also Praveen was very clear, and then we joined it. We just because we are new, we are not going to pick any account that's coming to us. We realized that our reputation will be built by the quality of clients that we get through the door. So our ambition was to have, doesn't matter how big we are, we want big ones with us.
But tell me at a personal level, Anil, from a financial perspective, how prepared were you for this? Because, like you said, there was no salary, etc., etc. And as a result, you had only 8 years of experience. So your savings couldn't have been massive at that point as well. So how did you kind of deal with that financial preparation? Did you just go in blind or did you do some thinking about it?
And
Look, we
this
told
was
it.
very quickly. This must be around 2002. Is that right? Since you started in
That's true.
90.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's
Okay.
just barely 9 months, 9 years,
Mm.
yes, absolutely no money. Thankfully, wife was working. But very quickly, we could take one third of what my last drawn salary, I could take one third. So I could pay the basic with no fancy nothing. We had no time.
Yeah, but still a big drop down. Yeah, I mean, difficult to do financial management at a personal level in a city like Bombay would not have been easy.
Oh, very tough. 6 months was very tough. Didn't
And what was your
and
wife's reaction?
okay, I'm joining hands with Praveen. So I mean, more. See, it's like friends getting together, right? So yes, little apprehension. Family is a little apprehension, but somewhere they had a faith in the fact that I won't do things. I was a bit of a mover and shaker at a very young age. I have the ability, so they believed in my ability. They've seen me. I think they had a bigger apprehension when I took over quadrant than leaving McCann because doing so well, one of the youngest guys to reach positions and promise an international role and all of
Mm.
that. To throw that and go into a absolutely unknown localized agency, offshoot of a global chain who just acquired it, all of that. That was a bigger risk, I think. But actually, the real risk was this because this could have crashed. But anyway, see, I'll tell you. Truth be told, if it didn't work for 6 months, I would have, got hired by JWT or any one of the big ones. I would have found a job.
Yeah, you'd already built a reputation in the
But
industry by
the
then.
reputation I would have got it. So that's the reality of there was a plan. They could have always, but that 6 months was tough. There was not major thinking that gone into it. When I actually gone through few months of literally only few notes in the pocket kind of wallet, it's a tough time. You can't do many
Yeah.
things. That it's a tough one, and only when you face it you realize it. But thankfully, there was always something cooking. We knew that if this converts, this is going to be a better one. If this converts, because we were in conversation, we were actually actively doing it. So it was not like sitting and saying, "What do we do?" We were always, you're always in action. So what that
But
takes
did you
away
have to
your
do some financial planning before you actually took the leap? No. Okay.
faith.
You didn't think it was necessary.
Like you're taking a corner in a mountain at 80 kilometers per hour, hoping that there's no cow standing on the road or some
Okay.
villager coming on the wrong side. You just have faith. So I just, that was it.
So essentially, you did drop speed. You kept going at 80 kilometers.
I couldn't. I couldn't drop speed at all. There was no. See, also the fact is that there is a different adrenaline, right? When you play the survival game, you either play it out of fear or play it out of excitement. I always play it out of excitement. It is.
What I like is you're always reframing stuff as a motorcycle incident
Yeah, I
or
always do that.
metaphor.
That's eventually that has actually led to that book because people kept on telling me that you must write it because you must write it because you always have an analogy of motorcycling in there. So yeah, so the point is that I would say the second innings, but I didn't change industry. It's a trade that I knew and the trade that I felt I'm good at, and I had a very good emotional anchor support with Praveen. We kind of fed off each other. We also had another critical, very few critical people joined us quickly at that point of time, formed a very nice core team. So we've had a collective that we will not go for that. But we actually got a lot of stick initially. A lot of people laughed at us. Because we're not we are the the unlikely survivors on this one. We don't have the pedigree. We don't come from this creative. In Bengal, they have this thing. Padrlo. We were not the advertising Padrlo. We were not the heir apparents. We are like Bangalore, Kerala, this thing, typical suit guys. What will they do? I mean, there are people who actually told us, we give you 15 months to survive, and you'll come running to us and we'll merge into something. Don't do this madness.
I again go back to timelines. How long did you run this agency for before you started Goodwin?
2 to 18 years, I mean, actually, but out of which in 11 years we decided to sell. So we got into arrangement for this in the 12th year. So 12 years pure independent. Then it became uh, a group company of publicists, got 100% sale out. And the last 3 years as uh, my status was an employee, not a co-founder or a shareholder. So, and that's how the journey. But it was
That's
a
very
beautiful journey.
interesting. So
Yeah, the
corporate
beautiful.
entrepreneur, then again that grew bigger, and then again almost like a corporate, like an employee.
So now that answers why I couldn't continue. That there was no other reason that I couldn't continue. I mean, there was nobody telling me to. I mean, in fact, they were like, how can you leave it? You built it. Please stay.
Yeah.
Emotional, everything. But when the group saying that, you should not go, please stay. But I couldn't. When I said, this is what I left in 2002. And I'm bang in the middle of it back after so many years of journey, after breathing absolute pure oxygen into my lungs. It's not that it's any poison here, but the way is very different. While I was in advertising, again, it so happened I was in Cannes, where there is in Cannes when you go there, the Palais, the big auditorium, the ground floor when you enter is where they display all the work which is shortlisted or
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
metal. So I always spend a lot of time going through that boards. And I realized, advertising is full of such nice people. Yeah, we should have been seminaries and nunneries, man, because we want to save the world. We want to save the turtle. We want to save the children. Everywhere around the world, we want to, because all for awards, right? And I say, boss, we are such Shylocks, such bloody dream merchants, suddenly put on the robe of priests and high priests of making all kind of scam ads to win awards.
When it comes to Khan and awards.
I said, boss, this is full of fakeness. And I'm saying I'm part of that industry. And I said that genuinely there is no change happening on the ground. Roman, I must tell you, we won a Khan's biggest award. We won the biggest glass award, the award given for the most impactful work on social society. Okay, Khan won. That work would have impacted 500 people actually. But the way we showed
Yeah.
people, oh God, this, that, the Grand Prix, all of that. The metals are lined up in my agency, okay, because of that. But somewhere deep down I felt that this is fake again. That same voice of mine, I can't lie to myself. I said, see, what if I were actually two things that I really care about. If you want to make a difference or something, and let's not do lip service. Let's not win it for a while. So I took motorcycling, which is my passion. So I got back to motorcycling and I started riding. Then when Triumph came to India, 2013, I went and bought a
Right.
Triumph because that was my dream to buy a Triumph. The Triumph was like iconic. Triumph Bonville. So I bought a Triumph Bonville. So I had this bikes already parked in my garage, riding around. So small vehicles like. And I said, okay, I'm really passionate about motorcycling and really passionate about making a difference. Why don't I put it together? So I actually created an open source platform called Goodwind Riding, okay, where the riders undertake ride for cost. So if you want to go to Leh Ladakh, We all try to get it, but let's convert that into awareness for a particular cause and raise donation for that cause through friends and family and Facebook. It's the initial days of Facebook. Pretty much like what we do for marathon, right? If you're running the Tata Marathon,
Absolutely. Very nice. Yeah.
for
Yeah.
pledge it
That
for.
makes sense.
So I kind of in a few created that. It took off very well. I went on a few solo rides and raised money, and that's a different story. Like is how it landed up in it. It's like signal from above. I thought I probably can help one child. And then it's a dear friend who runs a very good venture called Children's Cancer Care, Imran. So he said that if you're doing this, why don't you do it for us? So we will raise money for underprivileged cancer care children who come to Tata Memorial Treatment. They come from a very underprivileged background from Odisha, all parts of the country, but they come in. Tata gives them free, but the medicines cost, things cost, it still costs a few lakhs, right? Because of the post-operative care itself is very expensive. So Tata will do the operation for free, not charge, hospital will not charge, but they still need to spend. So this he was involved in that thing to raise funds for the post-operative care. Well, some of them are terminally ill, so you can't do much, but still they need support. So I, started off with actually raising funds, and I thought I will first ride I do a solo to Spiti Valley at that point of time. I had no clue how difficult was it till the time I got there and did it, and there was no internet for 7 days. Nobody knew where I was till the time I came on the other end. But after 7 days, when I came in, and I was called up my secretary just to check back on things, and because she was helping managing the Facebook page, she told me that we raised enough money for not just one child, 4 children. It just came in. It just came in. Then I said, okay, so this actually is a signal that I'm on. Then my friend started doing it. Then again, I did another one. We started, raising money. We were getting a good sum. And the name that this, okay, it's a, then we started supporting a children's home. I don't like to call it an orphanage called Balaja. So we support them. That's between these two, we switch, all of that.
Clarifying question. Were you doing all of this while you were still doing the
Yeah. So I used to
advertising?
take leave and go for 10 days and 15 days. So my vacations were converted to motorcycle
Right.
tours. Anyway, I'll do a ride, right?
One thing that's interesting to me is even though you haven't said it explicitly, but what's coming out very clearly is that for you, making a difference is very important. It's not so much about
Mm.
Yeah,
getting
yeah.
awards or what seems to be quote unquote success to a lot of other people, but you're driven by innate desire to actually add value to other people.
Make a change.
Yeah,
Yeah, make a
make a
difference.
change. Yeah.
I must say that it's also a little selfish in the sense.
Okay.
Not selfish. It's a little coming from the very fact that I don't like lip services. I don't like posturing. I don't like this. We are doing something. I know the truth, so I can't lie to myself. So I've said, okay, all this impact and all of that we claiming, but then if there is nothing that I can say, okay, listen, hand on heart, we tried or we did. Something happened. At least one person's life changed or two people's life changed. So that is important to me. It is as much as it is to satisfy me than to make or equally to make an impact. So somewhere I don't lie to myself ever. I'm brutally honest with myself. More so nowadays. Maturity has come in much earlier, but I've started realizing that trait is there with me, saying that, but you can make anyone believe anything, but don't ever put
I think that's such a powerful thing, just to be brutally
Mm.
honest with yourself and to act
Mm.
on it. I think it's very important. Yeah.
So I think
Mm.
even a lot of people have actually came and spoke to me saying that, okay, your journey is interesting, inspiring, all of that, and in a lot of tips they've asked. I think the most important tip that I tell them is talk to yourself. Talk to yourself
Mm.
uh, quietly, honestly, consistently.
How do you do that?
Spend time. Okay, you can call it meditation. You don't need to close your eyes.
Actually pose questions to yourself and answer it yourself. Is that how it is? How it works? Yeah.
You can reflect on. But I'll tell you one thing: our system is so powerful that it brings in no time. How much ever you try, it cuts through all the bullshit and brings it to the forefront very fast. Right? You can't just get that out of another person that easily. But actually speaking, are you doing something worthwhile? Can you hand on heart say that are you happy? Are you really? Are you happy not because you have possessions or not have possessions or whatever that is? You're happy that what you're doing, like if this is all the game is in life, are you happy with this game? Okay. Do you think that you can do something in it? right? When you
But
have
I
this
must add one thing. A lot of people might reflect, might realize that maybe they need to do something different. But to be actually able to do that takes a certain bit of courage, confidence, right? In your case, it looks like, and maybe because you'd already done it earlier, that you wouldn't put in too much thought about completely changing a direction, right? And doing something totally different.
See, the thought is always there. It's not like one fine day I'll jump that. But I think what is happening is that there are many stations running, tuning running in our brain. Mind runs multiple
Okay.
channels, right? Many a time, what people do, they say they reflected on it, they listen to a different frequency, which is called self-justification. You just pick facts and arrange it to yourself, and you fool yourself saying that, yeah, I'm in the right direction. Oh, I think this is the right thing to do, right? Because it is just more often you are justifying the effect and rather than actually looking at the underlying stuff. So you take well, take it. Alright, so I'll tell you the one simple thing. One of the most dangerous term that many people use is party paid ka sawal hai. Bullshit. Bullshit. That is the bullshit that you're selling to yourself. Right? There is nothing called party paid. Okay. The paid will take whatever you give it if you believe. But paid will adjust accordingly. You first have to align yourself. Don't blame the fact that life, which is the pet, or the things around you, the surrounding, the trappings, determine you. So those are the bullshit that you need to cut through. That's tough for some people because you are actually all your life your ambition is to actually acquire these things and you're very close to that, and then you tell them reflect on it, whatever. Sometimes take a step back, postpone it for some time. Oh no, why? I mean, all my life I was this. No, let me just grab it. Let me get it and go through that. It happened, but the truth will set you free. Okay, and the truth is this, I believe, is to self. You are a nice
Nice.
man,
The
you're
truth
not
will
a
set
nice
you
man.
free. I like that.
Yeah, and you're a nice man, or you're not a nice man. What others might think you're a nice man, but you say, "Boss, मैं तो नहीं है, मैं सर मतलब ही हूँ." Yeah, really, it worked out for me. Oh, some people are brave. Well, might not be brave. I just be stupid also. But at least to yourself say that you've been stupid. You love that. Okay, that's fine. That's okay to at least self it. But posture it in such a way that others think that you're brave. That's not a problem. I'm not saying that you need to be so true that you are. But to yourself, don't do that because you will take the right decisions which your system can take you forward. And then you're true to yourself, it will guide you to the right thing that you can do. When you are not something, you act like something, you end up at a place where the fall can be very, again, motorcycle analogy. If you're not a fast rider, don't pretend to be a fast rider just to show to others so that you will not be able to escape a difficult situation. Right?
I love that.
It is that, just because everyone is saying Anil is very fast. Actually, Anil is not fast. But since everyone has said that I have to go fast, right? And then suddenly one quick corner comes, and big crash, right? And then I blame a dog came, stone, all of that. It's never my fault that I fell. Always somebody else's fault, right? In life, that's what we do. So that's the simple thing that I've learned. Saying that, okay, listen, ride at your pace, be honest to yourself. Don't do it for anybody else because everybody will say something, but something happens. Only you will pay the price. So you just have to be okay with that. Family include the fact that don't play to an audience, play to yourself.
Yeah. But
Audience
that's the nature of
just
careers that we all build, right? That you're actually running someone else's race. I mean, you want to succeed. Many people, of course, want to succeed because of an intrinsic need. But I would say 9 times out of 10, you're running someone else's race. Part of the race might be yours, but very often your own personal race has ended long before, but you continue to race and run and keep going because one, that's your identity, that's the external identity validation that you've created for yourself, and very often you're just running someone else's race, and like you said, the truth will set you free. That's when you start validating yourself rather than externally.
So, Atul, I completely agree with you. About this whole system itself is rigged very differently because the system needs people to believe in all the myths that exist about, the race and the success and the trappings of that success. But the benchmarks of the success, because you need a large amount of human effort for enterprises to move forward, and that human effort, if it was only through capital, resourcing, it wouldn't work the way it works. So big corporation wouldn't have formed if this little race wasn't created. So it's a theater played on all of us, and some of us have got out of the theater, but there are many playing very actively and then it is working for them. And they believe that they're being rewarded for it. Partially true, but actually no. But it's very difficult to understand that. So, and many seldom people have the courage to actually have that question and step out and say that no, this is not the play that I want to be part of. I would like to play it slightly differently. For that, I'm not just saying courage. Must start with awareness and realization that I'm being played.
Yeah.
That is the issue.
Yeah, we alluded to your book a little while back, and we spoke about it the other day. And you were sharing with us, Anil, about how the book came about and how people have been talking to you about your journey with motorcycle and motorcycle riding. So we'd love to hear a little bit more about that, please.
So when I stepped out, and this is during COVID time, and a whole lot of people felt that, why did you leave from a prime position? Why did you stop the music when it was sounding so great? And really say that isn't that the best time to stop it? I created, my passion project, which is India's first or the truly global motorcycle touring company. And and my ambition is not to play India. I want to be the world's largest motorcycle touring company, and I'll get it there. I don't know how much time it takes, but I will take this to the biggest stuff. But when people saw me doing this complete shift out, and whole lot of people said we also wanted to do it. I always been feeling that so they wanted to talk to me to gain courage or gain insight. So initially it started. Some people started taking notes, and then people started asking me, "Can you send us the pointers, a few things, so that I can refer to?" So because after some 2-3 Zoom calls, I said, "Okay, listen, make a Google Doc and then send people link. That's easier than every time write it down." So I started writing this Google Doc and all of that. And and serendipity in a flight, one of the initial flights after COVID, I met with a publisher who 1.5 hours of boring the shit out of him. He felt that I had many books in me. So I said, "Do you think this can be a book? Because I have a book." He said, "Perfect. Let's make straight away make that into a book." And that's how License to Fall happened. This is actually exactly the point. And this book is for people who are in that crossroad to just think about, am I in the right place, or should I do something? And this book is not about, okay, no, this is the step by step guide to how to create a second career or the new career. No, it's not. It is just some thoughts that the lessons that I learned about life from motorcycling, because as you gathered, I use a lot of analogies from motorcycling when I even speak. So I actually put it down for them to take a decision, say maybe no, I'm not good for this. I'll stay here. Okay, at least be aware of it, to have the confrontation with them, saying, I wish someone gave me a lot of money so that I can stop doing this and start doing that. It won't happen. It's actually your lack of clarity. I mean, how badly do you want it? And the most important thing, are you capable of doing it? Because I have had I have conversations with a lot of people who actually burned their hand after jumping into this startup bandwagon, to realize that there's no iota of entrepreneurship in them. Yep. They were chronic managers in their life. Absolutely. They're excellent managers, chronic managers, but not leaders. And if you're not a leader, you cannot build anything from scratch. You will not be able to guide yourself out of this. Forget carrying a team and
which is where the idea of self-realization and awareness that you were talking about earlier, it becomes crucial, right?
It starts with
look at yourself. Look at yourself. Yeah.
So once you look at yourself, you have to then say you have to embrace the unknown. See, the fact is that everyone wants to have a career shift and do new things without any risk that coming with. If all the comfort and control that you had in their life, same thing will continue when I take this. No, it won't happen. So, you have to be okay embracing the unknown. Unknown isn't bad, because if you see, known is good and unknown is bad is again another reframing you got to do. Because in the unknown, there could be much better things there, but be aware of it. And the most important thing, ask yourself, am I capable of doing it? Who am I really? What is my thing? Why am I unhappy? Is it unhappy because even if I'm an entrepreneur, I might be unhappy because it is my state, right? It is not because of this, I'm working for a big corporation or MNC, therefore I'm a slave, therefore when you become an entrepreneur, that much sleep that you got in the weekend also will go away. I can guarantee you. There is no way you want to sleep. Okay, and the tension is fully yours. Okay, when you have GST to be paid, salary, GST guy will you have to pay GST, right? So all of that will come in, which will never was your headache. All of it will come in. So the book was about giving a set of things to know yourself, so that you can take a decision and write your own rules. There is no rule to say, because there was also a false narrative that created, saying anyone who works in corporate is a slave, and everyone who actually started something is a smart guy. Right, and therefore,
so why don't you enlighten us with one or two snippets from the book? and one or two metaphors
So,
from the book.
in fact, the book is full of all of this, but
I
I
love the
just
name of the book, by the way, License
yeah.
to Fall.
So it came about the fact that it's like everyone has a license to ride, but if I were given people, if I give people a license to fall, to say that fall is okay, it's not seen as a a major thing. See, fall
Excellent.
we will in life. Avoiding this fall itself is precursor to a fall. Okay, because you will make stupid decisions to avoid a fall, and then you overcorrect it. So in motorcycling, there is something called the death grip. Okay, the death grip is the dear grip that you hold on to the handle. Okay, when you are in a difficult situation. Okay, and you do that in life too. The instant the reaction that you need to do in motorcycling is when you are in difficult. Okay, eject. People go with the motorcycle. See, it's better that you fall off here rather than go into the bloody ditch. Okay, you can go. You just hold on to it like that. Because of that. And people do that in life. The death grip. Loosen the grip. Loosen the death grip. Okay, that is one. The second thing is focus on the road, not the wall. When a problem happens, an obstacle comes, an impediment ahead of you, what do you focus on? The mind, you go where you focus. Okay, that's true in motorcycling also. So if you see a pothole, if you look at the pothole, you will hit the pothole magically. If you look at the side of the
Yeah.
pothole, you will not hit the pothole. Okay, and when I train people and when they do that, I never realized that. I said that is how it works. The mind and the mind is that it goes where your focus goes. The energy goes where the focus goes. So if you are focused on the wall, which is your challenge or an impediment, you will go there. You focus on the solution, which is the way out of it, you will go out. Now, this is a golden rule in life that I've learned. That is, true about motorcycling also. And another important thing is that,
And maybe you can link it with the death grip as well. That's the time you need to loosen the grip, right, as you're hitting the wall.
Sometimes it is let go.
Let go,
Let
yeah.
go is important. It's not a failure.
By the way, I love these metaphors. I love these motorcycle metaphors.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then there is another thing which is slightly philosophical, which again I must say that it's about, if you focus, if you're all about a destination, the journey is a misery, right? If let's say if I want to go to Leh Ladakh and my whole thing is about Leh Ladakh, I forget all the beautiful scenes. I don't focus on the wonderful mountain roads and the little villages that I went past.
Yeah.
The beauty is in the journey. Ladakh is not a great place at all. Trust me. There's far more beauty on the way to Ladakh. The experience, the real journey. That if I'm just metaphor of that, journey to Ladakh. Ladakh is another, barren mountain town, sadly big. But there's nothing but spectacular there. The journey there is like, beautiful. Suddenly you see snow-clad mountains. Suddenly you see the yaks in the side. Little
Super.
villages,
Super.
all of that. If you are
Yeah.
not focusing on it, if you are saying no, Ladakh, it is useless. It's absolutely useless. It gets you. See you at 40. See you at come on, yeah, get a life, right? Don't be that. If that gives. If you enjoyed the journey all the way there, if you remember every moment of your life when you got there, it's fine. But the most important thing is be self-aware. That's the larger point. It's about have that brutal conversation with them, develop that understanding of getting your mind and you to have a conversation and which you get meditation or just music, go for a walk, go for whatever, motorcycle ride. Motorcycle riding is it's meditation. Anything that you do with concentration for a long time is meditation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think I'd
And
like to add
mindful.
this for the viewers that it's not every day you see people who have translated their passion into life lessons. And here is one of them. And there are a whole bunch of metaphors, like a few Anil mentioned. So do grab a copy of License to Fall, right, by Anil Nair, and I'm sure we'll all benefit from that. Great. So I think quick changing gears, and we're coming to the end, towards the end of the show.
Finally, your book is actually quite representative of what I'm going to ask you next, but maybe from the book or otherwise, advice you may have for people who want to make a transition. You talked about self awareness. That clearly is advice number one, but that know yourself and the truth will set you free. Any other off the top of your head words of advice that you may have for people who want to make a transition to a second innings?
See, I'm borrowing the title of Simon Sinek's book. Start with the why. Why do you want to do this? Okay. If you don't get a very clear, definite answer, and then ask yourself that why couple of times, and if the answer is similar or the same, then probably your system is ready for that. So ask the why do you want to do this new thing, right? If you're bored, then don't do it. If boredom, I'm bored of what you're doing, so that is not a reason enough. Try
Yeah.
and find ways to make what you're doing exciting or find an exciting thing to do within that. But if you want to completely change the course, please understand you're losing most of the advantage that you had. That's something people don't realize it. When you start on your own, you lose all the advantage which you take for granted when you work for an organization. Let's understand one thing. Having a corporate backing or being a senior level in a corporate thing, you get a tremendous organizational and other support to do your job. When you step out on your own and work from your living room or your bedroom or a little co-working space, you're alone. Literally have to you just have to ask for favors. It's no longer orders. You have to ask for favors. You have to do that. So you have to develop a lot of humility. But the most important question is be self-aware and ask the question why you want it. And you need to get a reasonably convincing answer. It's not for others, for yourself to start. Then if you think that you've got a reasonably convincing answer, say that you have a solution for something really big. The most important thing that I'm not being spiritual and philosophical here. If your success is only going to matter to you, you will not succeed. If your success is going to benefit a lot of people, you will succeed. Because the universe has put you on a path which you are willing to break and go somewhere else. You have to give the universe a very good reason why that move is beneficial to a whole lot of people rather than let me make a lot of money. Okay. I'm getting a few crores as salary and bonus and all of that, but I'm not doing it. I suddenly see somebody else's lifestyle. I think as an entrepreneur and I will accept it. See, if founders who talk about exits already at the stage of incorporation are the people who you have to be worried about, right? The fact is that if somebody, any people ask exit plan, I said, what is exit plan? Never exiting, man. I'm a megalomaniac. I'm going to buy out everyone else. There is no exit from whatever.
The business that gets bought out is the one that was never created to be bought out.
So,
That's
some
what
people,
always
some
works.
outliers are there. Some people are made well, but that
Sure,
are outliers.
absolutely.
Seeing them, see, the thing is that anywhere there's an
There are
aberration.
always exceptions.
Exceptions and aberrations. So, by the fact that if you start taking that exceptions and start thinking that is a norm, and then destroy your own hard work for 25 years or 27 years and do that. So it's not a question of it's just a question of saying why am I doing it? And the answer is that I can solve a very big problem. I can actually unleash myself to a greater level. My contribution can go up. I really can give 110% to this thing. If those are the answers that you're getting, say that okay, yeah, you should try.
I often use the 5 whys framework for my decision making, and this would be, like you said, why. It's not just one why. You need to go ask yourself why I again and again and again, and very often it's the fifth or the sixth why which really uncovers or unleashes your real reasoning deep inside yourself, and that is a very good framework. Yeah. Thank you so much, Anil. I think we can call it a wrap here. Thank you so much for your words of wisdom and the philosophical ones as well, the spiritual ones. I really like the one about, what you just mentioned about the universe has put you on a certain path. And in that spirit, I think there's a lot that one can discover within oneself to answer the question that where is the universe taking you and what is it that you're meant to do? What is your purpose in life, so to speak? Thanks so much for your time.